All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Dragging the Table. My name is DJ, and today I have with me the the man who needs no introduction because he is the podcast Royal Rumble #3 champion, Adam Nutter.
Oh, thank you, sir. Thank you for having me. It was it was fun meeting face to face the other night and bullshitting in a group of people.
Yeah, I I like in my experience in that Rumble to. Do you remember that scene in Terminator 2 where she's like she thinks she's seeing the future? It's like a dream. She's holding on to the fence,
Yeah,
and
of
then
course.
it goes off, and that's what it felt like. I was like, "Oh God, no!"
Yeah, and I mean, well, first of all, Terminator 2 is the best action movie of all time. I'll take that. I'll take that shit to the bank. I'll fight anybody on that. Terminator 2, best action movie of all time. And then the second part of that is, yeah, like it's when I got asked to do that podcast Royal Rumble thing, and I was looking at who's doing it. First of all, like Delvin's a good friend of mine. Like Jody, who won the last one, good friend of mine. He didn't do it, but he was like the co-host of it, I guess, kind of thing. But I'm seeing all these people I know and stuff, and I'm like, well, I'm the only like comedian, official like actual stand-up comic on this roast, and I was like, I don't know if all these guys could riff like I can, because like me, that's every show pre and after comedy show I do is me and the other comics roasting each other for fucking 4 hours. So it's like this is all I'm just good at just keeping the conversation going. So I was like, I think I'll do good in this, and then winner. So
Yeah, I mean, listen, a lot of us indie podcasters, we fancy ourselves of like, oh well, I would start going to open mics, but I have this podcast I'm doing, but I'm very funny. And it takes a guy like you to come in and just drop nukes on folks. You're like, okay, well, maybe I'm not as funny as I thought I was.
No, you guys are all fucking funny, and you're right. It's just a different skill set, right? To have that riffing ability, like on live, just going, and like it's just something. Again, it's that I got not from podcasting, just from going out. I've been doing comedy 7 years. Like I mean, it's just what you fucking do. You just riff with your asshole friends. You tell drug stories, and then you try to see who's the bigger degenerate between each other. And like that's my life. That's all I could do. That's all I do every day. So when COVID hit, like that shit stopped, and like doing that was like a fun kind of getting back to like normalcy for me. Like, oh, I get to riff and be a dick.
Have you been able to do? I know, like at the end, you plugged your shows. Like, have you been able to actually do any comedy really at
2
all?
shows. I've done 2 shows since COVID hit. That's it.
Grief.
Yeah, it sucks, dude. Like it sucks. Yeah, I did one in New Hope, which is like 15 minutes from me in Pennsylvania, which is a great spot who I always go to, and we had a show there. But it sucked because like I think we were only allowed 20 people in the audience.
What was the size of the venue normally?
It can normally hold. So it's an old school music bar, New Hope, Pennsylvania, like historical John and Peters. And over the last few years, it's also become like a comedy hotspot. From my good friend Mike D'Alto. He's the one who kind of started it there. So it's a John and Peters bar, and it's downstairs. I have a fucking awesome stage because it's an old music bar. So there's this fucking great stage and all these like bleacher pew seats sitting around it with tables and shit. Sick. So it holds like I would say full capacity, like 80 seated. I've been in there when it was way more than that, but so to go from that to 20, it's fucking just a bummer. But like they were cool because they were there for comedy, So they're like, yeah, and we're like trying to tell dick jokes, but telling dick jokes to 20 people is like, it's weird. You're like, I feel like I'm like verbally raping you guys and telling about my dick. Like I can see all your eyes. Like, it's like it's weird.
Yeah,
but it was fun,
Yeah, that's crazy. Well, and before we get too far, if you have anything to plug, like any dates or your podcast or anything, like go ahead and do all that now.
Yeah. So check out my podcast, Nerds with Words. I do with my good friend Neil Wood, another comic. Every Wednesday night we go live at like 8:30, 9 o'clock. We're actually changing the name of the podcast soon. So everything I'm saying is kind of very pointless, but you can still. I don't know where you're going to change the name to yet, but it's the show isn't changing, just the name, if that makes sense. I just feel like Nerds with Words, people get confused a lot. They think it's like a comic book show, and we do talk comic book stuff, but it's more of a comedy podcast. For me and again Neil, we kind of just we riff, we joke around, we have on guests, and we joke. It's not a it's fun. It's like a hangout, fun comedy podcast, and the Nerds with Words name kind of throws it off to people. So we're trying to shift away from that. And so we are switching the name, but podcast is awesome. Go check out Nerds with Words. If you any Connecticut, New England folk, August 26th, I'll be up at Comics on Mohegan Sun in Comics Roadhouse. I'll be doing a show 8 p.m. there. Go to their website for tickets. And also, I'm doing the Staten Island Comedy Festival, my hometown. I'm going back home to my trash home in Staten Island to do the comedy festival there. September 8th through 13th. Go to fifthboroughcomedyfestival.com for tickets and all that shit. So if you guys are in the New York area, come on out. It's all outside shows, socially distant and all that bullshit. So come on out, support me, your boy, doing live comedy.
Well, I think this episode should come out on the 21st, if that's this Friday. So yeah, I'll put all that stuff in the show notes too. So if anybody wants to, they can check it out. So why did you initially call it Nerds with Words? Was it like one of those things where you just had like a certain vision and then it just evolved over time, or was it just like, we need something quick and let's just put it up there and go?
You know what it was? It was a catchy name, which it is. It is a catchy name. It's just like I am a nerd. I'm a bona fide nerd. Like I have like a fucking more than that. Like $11,000 to $12,000 comic book collection, like CGC graded, like in the case. Like, yeah. I mean, look at my fucking arm. It's covered in 90s cartoon tattoos. I mean, I'm a fucking reptar here, dude. I mean, like, I'm a nerd. I have 2 Venom tattoos. I have 2. My leg is full of Spider-Man tattoos. Like, I'm fucking nuts. Okay, so like, I am a nerd. But I mean, it was meant to just be, again, what it is, a comedy podcast. But I was like, I'm a nerd. Neil is a horror movie nerd. So like, Nerds with Words, it's stuck. But then I was like, yeah, people just are not breaking from the nerd thing. Like they're just hearing that. And like, I think people like so this is what happens, dude. Either people tune in being like, oh, this is like a pure like comic book movie podcast or something like that. And they hear us being like, yeah, I'm going to beat that guy to fucking death. That guy's a cunt or whatever. And they're like, this is aggressive. Right? And it's that. So people are like, I don't want to hear this. Or people like don't tune in because like, I want to listen to like comedy shit. And I want to listen to hear you guys talk about comic books. I'm like, we don't. And we do if it comes into the, natural conversation. But like, it's not like, we're like, all right, part 2 of the show. Like, here's Spawn 17. Like, let's break down why I have this next to me right now, because I'm sending it down to get graded by CGC. That's why. I'm a fucking lunatic.
That's amazing.
Like, yeah, I'm a crazy person. So,
but it's so crazy that people still now, because podcasts have been around for what, at least I say mainstream, like I feel like technically they just became mainstream with Joe Rogan's Spotify deal, but like I've been listening to podcasts for like 9 or 10 years now. And I don't know. It's weird to think about. Like, do you ever think about when you first started listening to podcasts? Because like I had no idea what to expect. Like I didn't really know any comedians. I knew nothing. So like when I heard, I think like Pete Holmes and like You Made It Weird and the Crab Feast were like 2 of the first podcasts I ever heard. And like, I'm hearing these stories like, what are these people talking about? Like, is this even real? Like, this can't be. But I mean, I don't know. I feel like if you like it, you'll stick with it and be like, okay, like I clearly don't know what this is. I need to find out where these people are and what is going on.
Yeah, man, I feel like, again, like, I don't know, man. I have a weird like upbringing with like entertainment and comedy because like again I'm from New York, from Staten Island. I don't live there anymore. But I'm like less than an hour away from Staten Island still, living in Pennsylvania. So I'm still close. I still do comedy. Well, was still doing comedy in New York, and all that shit. So like I'm still a very active part of my life. But I am like, this place sucks. I gotta leave. Get the fuck out of here. but like I grew up listening to like Opie and Anthony, like those days. I was like 16, 17 years old. So I grew up listening to like Patrice O'Neal, Jim Norton, Bobby Kelly, Rich Voss, Bill Burr, like Louis C.K. before they were famous. Like before they, who were they? Like, you know, this is like 2004, 2003. This is like going back, man. I'm 33 years old now. So like this is my upbringing into like teenage years. And I'm like, oh, this is what I find funny, right? Like this is the humor I find funny. It's how my friends joke around. So that's like where I went with it. So then I started doing comedy at a young age. So when I first started getting into podcasts, my brain's like, well, I want to hear the comics. Like that's what I want. I want their stories. I want the comedy stories. That's where I grew up with, dude. That's what I want to hear. I don't want to hear fake celebrity, not fake celebrity, like celebrities tell fake bullshit stories. Like, and then I went to the gala, and then like J-Lo blew me. It's like, fucking who cares? I want to hear about Jim Norton talking about the time he fucked a tranny at the Comedy Cellar. Like that's what I want to hear. Like, you know, that any day of the week, I'd rather hear that story. It's way better to me. So like when I first started listening to podcasts, I'm like, that's all I'm going for. Like, you know, the comedy ones. That's how I got into podcasts. And then of course, like, you know, you're like, oh, what's other stuff? Like, oh, there's science podcasts, there's like informative podcasts and shit like that. But comedy, hardcore, that's where I went first with podcasts, 100%.
Yeah, it's weird. I feel like people do gravitate. Like once you find the thing, like you look around, and then once you find the thing, like that's it. Like the first podcast I ever even heard of was the Bertcast, because Bert Kreischer used to do local radio here all the time, and he talked about starting a podcast, and I was like, what is that even? And he would just talk about different shows, and I was like, okay, well, I'll check out this Pete Holmes guy, or he said he's going to be on the Crab Feast, or what is the Nerdist? And it's the same. It's like you said, like the celebrities tell interesting stories. Like Rob Lowe is a perfect example. He was on Rogan the other day.
I watched most of it.
I was talking about it. I wanted to hate that guy because I'm like, it's Rob Lowe. Like he can't be good. And I listened to all 3 hours, and I love that dude. You know what I mean?
You know what the thing about Rob Lowe is? I always thought he was a cool dude. I always had a feeling he was, because he's super handsome. Hear me out. He's super handsome, right? So he never had like that, I think, like that I can't get pussy feeling that we all had.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So he never had to go through that ever. He was always famous from a young age. So like, why not be the coolest dude in the world? You were on Parks and Rec, like a great. No, but seriously, think about like what. Oh, he had that little underage thing. Yeah, that wasn't great. I forgot about that till right now. But like, I forgot about that till literally right now. But let's put that aside, and the other stuff, you know, pretty cool. So all I'm saying is like, of course he was probably going to be like a cooler dude, but like, I don't. It's weird you said that, because my struggle with that was I was like, yeah, that's cool, but I don't care.
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah.
Well, dude, you mean? Or you're just like, I get it.
Because I'm like, yeah, you're Rob Lowe. You're always famous. Like, you're not going to tell any crazy stories, because, like, you're still a working actor. You're not going to burn bridges. So I was like, let's be honest. You're a cool dude, I'm sure. And, like, yeah, okay, you're a cool dude. You curse. Okay, I get it, dude. I get it. You know what I'm saying? But, like, I want to hear, like, yeah, I was doing Blow in the 80s off so-and-so's fucking tits. And, like, and he wasn't going to tell the stories. Well, so, like, to hear him on Rogan, it's like, cool, I guess. But, like, you know what I'm saying?
I think that is the curse of the going sober guy, because Robert Downey Jr. on that was the same way. And I found out, I didn't know this until after the fact, or after the show, I guess he doesn't talk about his sobriety at all publicly, because he thinks,
I don't want to hear it, but then, like, don't go on Rogan. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, don't waste my time.
It's crazy.
I've heard, yeah.
That's what we all know. Like, I refused to watch the first Iron Man movie because I was like, this guy is trash. Like, this movie is going to be trash because Robert Downey Jr. is garbage, and he won't care about this. And look at him now. Like, he's got to be the most low-key rich guy on the planet, right? Like,
probably
billions of dollars.
Probably. I mean, yeah. I don't know, dude. It's like, any of that fake. Well, I feel like once you hit that level of like celebrity, it's not real anymore. It's like a simulation for you. You're just in the Matrix, dude. Like, we're all in the Matrix for real, but like, you hit a second level of the Matrix where you're just like, oh, I don't even like John. Like, obviously, like Johnny. I heard a story about Johnny Depp where like he didn't know where to buy toothpaste.
I buy that.
Like, and I fully believe that story. Like, I didn't fact check that. It's 0%, right? But like, I fully believe that story. because I could believe like a super, again, someone who's been famous forever since a young kid, right? Because Johnny Depp's been famous since he was like what, 18,
something like that. Yeah.
right? So like he could be like, yeah, I don't literally know what a CVS is. What the fuck, like, is a Rite Aid? Like, I never even seen it. Like, I could believe that's a believable thing for me. Like 100% believable
It's
thing.
like how Bill Gates would, what was it, years ago? Somebody asked him like how much a loaf of bread was, and he's like, I don't know, $35. Like, what? That seems reasonable for a loaf of bread.
$4 million, right? Like, isn't that loaf of bread? Like Wonder Bread, 2 million, but like if you go on like Pepperidge Farm, it's a good $4 million bread right there.
I don't know. It's so weird. Like, I don't know, because of Rogan moving to Spotify and like podcasting becoming like really becoming a thing that people are like starting to pay attention to. Because it's funny because at the beginning of like COVID, everyone was like, oh, the market's going to be flooded with all these people with nothing to do, just putting their podcasts out there. And it's like, well, first of all, that's 99% of the shows out there anyway. Like, we are just chaff waiting to cut down.
Yeah.
But
I just like when people said that. I'm like, or they can be worried about feeding their families because they don't have a job. But one of those two things is going to happen, though. One of those two is for sure going to happen. You're probably the second. Maybe the latter. I don't know.
It's just, I don't even remember the point I was going to make about it. Like, it's just a weird thing to do now, I guess.
Well,
like,
you know what it is? It's like, it's very unlikely now that you're going to hit like a Rogan level fame of podcasting. If you're a no one, right? Like, he was already somebody. Like, let's be honest. He was a fucking full-time headlining comic. He was a fucking on Fear Factory. Had News Radio before that. He was somebody. We're nobodies. Like, I'm a fucking no one comic. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, so here's what I had. So this is what Neil and I for Nerds of Words, soon to be changed. But here's what we had to do. Like, we're like, well, we're comics. We just got to find the lower end comedy market and find the people that like. So like, okay, we have a lot of the same, and I also know like a lot of the same New York comics that are friends like Legion of Skanks crew.
Mm-hmm.
So like Aaron Burr, I know Aaron Burr, I know Dave Temple, Caitlin Rupert, I know all those guys, right? And ladies, like I know all of them from comedy. So like we get them on our show too, and then the fans of Skanks and those guys listen to our podcast and they become fans of us, not to the level obviously, but they listen to us a little bit. So we get the Skank offshoot a little bit, right? So it's like, oh, okay, so we know our fan base is like those guys, which are diehard comedy fans, which is what we want because we're comics. So we're like, all right, well, we just got to not cater our show to anybody because we don't do that. We don't cater to anybody. We cater to ourselves because that's what we do. But we're like, oh, well, we kind of know our fan base, so we get it. Like, I'm not going to get fucking My Favorite Murder fan crowd. I'm a piece of shit. Like, I get it. Like, I'm going to get Skank fans. Like, that's how, you know what I'm saying? Look at me. Like, I'm not going to get, like, the armchair quarterback Dak Shepard crew. We're gonna get Legion of Skanks crew. We're gonna get the fucking Skeptic Tank crew. The fucking Tuesdays with Stories. We're gonna get the offshoot to those, those fans. That's what we're gonna do, and I'm fine with that. That's my fucking thing.
And that's I feel like that's what all of us should be shooting for, because like it's so weird with like how Shane Gillis. It seems like however long ago that he. They went back in the archives and found all these terrible, whatever things that he said. How much more is that going to come to the forefront of people just combing through? Like, I feel
it just happened to me a month ago.
But that's what you are already like associating yourself with dudes like the Legion of Skanks, or they're whoever they encompass, like that.
But it's a bullshit. Like, to get like kind of serious for a minute, it's a bullshit like misrepresentation, because like their fan base and those guys are the nicest group of fucking dudes and ladies in the world. Like,
I agree.
Most loyal fan base, nicest fan. Like, you would think, like, again, because they get misrepresented by fucking liberal cuck comics and shit. So like, they'll be like, they're rapist, racist fan base, and their fan base is a mixed bunch of fucking everyone who are the most respectful to women. Like, they're the guys who like straight up like who will call out that shit at comedy shows and like beat people up for it. Like, You know what I'm like?
Yeah.
Mistreating a woman and stuff. Like I've seen it firsthand. So that bullshit, and of course, like the Seth Simons. Well, he just got accused of like being a sex pest. The guy who wrote about Gillis and all those guys.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
They're the ones raping and being the creeps, like not the ones they're accusing. It's never the case. It's always them. It's always the guys loudest about it are the ones doing it.
Yeah. Bill
always.
So
Exactly.
so what happened to you a month ago?
Oh, so Neil and I were making Anne Frank jokes on the podcast. Not even about Anne Frank. We were talking about if she survived the camp, like what would she write about? And we were talking about like she would probably become like a young romance author. And we just so here's the thing though, backstory. There's this, I won't even mention any names because I don't want to bring any light to it, but there's somebody in the Philly comedy scene who legitimately everybody hates. She's a chick. Everybody hates her. She's done this 100 times. She's also racist against black dudes in comedy, so you know who you are. And, and she tried to call me out because my old co-host, who is a super SJW liberal cuck, he's about this tall, and he could fucking eat my fist if I ever see him again. But won't say his name either. But he's the one who saw it, wrote a Facebook thing about it, didn't have the balls to even tag me. She never even saw the thing. She just went off on it, posted about it on Facebook, and here's what happened. I gained Twitter followers out of it. We got more podcast listeners, and then all my friends in comedy, also people who I don't know in comedy, just kind of know in comedy, females, Jewish people, everyone in like, were like, yo, that was hilarious. Fuck that chick. Like, no one cares. And that's what, you know why? Because Neil and I never addressed it. Not once. I mean, like, to that, like, I mean, I'm talking to you about it, but like, I mean, we never like addressed it. I never wrote a thing. We never did a thing because we're like, we don't care about you. You mean nothing. Also, you're not a comic. Like, you are, but no one thinks you're funny or respects you. Like, you don't get booked. Like, who cares? So Neil and I were like, cool. And we just ignored it. And then nothing happened. Because that's what you do. And that's my advice to everyone out there who has a podcast or is a comic. Like, just don't bend the knee. Because it doesn't matter, because no one really cares.
No, I think that especially with how much all of us love to talk, like we have so much of our voices out there. Like we were just talking about how Big J got, tackled from behind the other day.
Not too far from where I live. And I also know that producer for the Soul Joel. I know him.
Like, so to me, like I saw that as like a huge badge of honor. Like if I was Big J, I would start all my shows with, I am so polarizing that my words make people throw their bodies at me. Like they can't find the words to come back at me. So they have to throw themselves at me.
That was ridiculous. Crazy? I mean, that guy took a beating too. Took a beating.
The guy that jumped at him, you mean?
The guy that jumped Big J?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, he took a fucking beating. Oh, that guy took a, yeah.
Like what? That again, I just think that speaks to like people don't, they have this Twitter mentality of like, I can do a thing and walk away from it and not really have any repercussions. And clearly, like being trapped inside for so long makes some people think they can just do a thing physically and they'll have no repercussions of it.
Dude, Twitter, I love Twitter for so many reasons because like, okay, I always say I have like 4 parts of me on Twitter, right? So I have the comedy part, right? That's the comedian part of me on Twitter. So I'll make jokes, write jokes and stuff like that. Sports part of me on Twitter, right? I'm a big sports person, so I got to talk about a lot of sports on Twitter. Third part of me is like comic book nerd Twitter. Okay, so like I got to get in my comic book stuff on Twitter, and my fourth part of me is politics Twitter, political Twitter, because I'm a big outspoken libertarian. I'm big into libertarian party and all that shit. So like I get into it in arguments online with people, right and left. I don't give a shit, right? So like, here's the thing though: people on Twitter will talk mad shit to you because it's a screen.
Yes.
And they forget, though, that there's a very real world possibility. They may run into me in real life one time, especially like people I kind of know.
Yeah.
So, like, I have a rule. Like, I will be a fucking asshole on Twitter, but like, I won't like start like I will never like threaten like a physical thing, anything, unless it starts first. And this is my new thing now. I just go, all right, man, keep that same energy next time you see me in person.
They won't.
They won't.
They won't. Turn around and go to the furthest corner.
Yeah,
like,
just like I said to my old co-host, like he wrote that thing about me. I go, all right, man. If I was ever to respond, that's what I would have said. I would have said, keep that same energy next time you see me in person. Because I guarantee you won't, and I guarantee you won't even fucking look me in my eyes. Because that's what weak men do. Like, let's take away the part that I trained. I used to fight mixed martial arts. I have 10 years of training under my belt. Forget all that. Forget all that. Like, it's still like I'm still a dude. You know, like it's a weird thing that happened in America where like men aren't men anymore.
Yeah,
and like it's like your words have consequences, dude. Like my wife's with other women, they don't. That's not how they operate, right? So women, it's not how they operate. But that's how I do. So, like, if you're going to run your fucking mouth at me, well, you might get met with the fucking fist because, like, that's how it works in the dude world, man. Like, I don't care. Your background doesn't matter. Your sexual orientation doesn't matter. Your religion doesn't matter. Your creed doesn't matter. If you're a man and you identify as a man, your words have consequences, and you better learn how to fight quick. Because that shit lost us in this country, and, like, I think that's important.
Yeah, it's that. It's no one taking consideration that or anyone's actual feelings. Like, you actually do have feelings. Like, I may have talked about it on this show once or twice. I don't know, but there was a comedian. I can't remember his name, but he was on Twitter and he said something along the lines of like, this was probably like 6 or 8 months ago. He's like, if I ever have anyone on any of my shows again that even tries to make a trans joke, they're off the lineup and I'll never have them. And anyone who, associates with me won't have them on their show anymore. And I tried to make the point of, if it's funny, who cares? And I retweeted that tweet. And I only had like maybe 20 people or so come after me. Like, just tell me what a bad person I was. Tell me I was transphobic, homophobic. Like, I was just a bad person because I was defending making a joke against a specific person.
It's fucking stupid.
It doesn't make sense. Like,
dude, I'm telling you, I think I'm just done with like feeding into like not realistic bullshit. Like, I'm just done because like I also can't get fired from anything. I don't, I'm a comic who has a podcast that you can fire me from. So like every time I hear certain things like that I just don't agree with, I just go, nah. I just go, no, it's stupid. I'm like, yeah, yell at me, but I don't care. Like, because here's the thing, especially like being libertarian, is like, and I believe this wholeheartedly. Like, do you, man? I don't like do whatever you want to do in life, as long as you're not, again, violating a non-aggression principle. Like, you're not hurting anybody. You're not, stealing, man. Dude, go nuts. But like, once you're gonna start to be like, because you don't say this, you think this, I go, all right, well, we're gonna have a problem. We're gonna have a real problem because like you can't just force your ideas on me because I disagree with you. It's psychotic. It's like Twitter ruined life. It's like it did.
Twitter is full of the people that are like, they're telling you, they're like the real life people that are like, you don't like this band? Well, let me play you this song. You might not have heard that song yet. You're like, no, I don't like them. But like, but this song, it's a deep cut. You just probably haven't heard it.
It's like, oh, I want to deep cut my wrist if you keep talking to me.
So what? Like, I've heard you mention a lot over the span of podcasts I've heard you on that you're libertarian. And what were you always libertarian, or did you like eventually find it?
Yeah, I think yes. So the answer yes, but not technically. I didn't know what it was for the longest. Like, I didn't know libertarian was a thing until I was like in my early 20s. Because I grew up in Staten Island, which is like Republican central. Out of all the city, Staten Island's like the only red out of a sea of blue. Right. So like I grew up just always thinking like it's just red versus blue, and this is it. You have two ways to think, and you got to align all these ways to think red and all these ways to think blue. And I was like, well, I don't feel all those ways about either side though. So I was like, I don't agree with this. And then I just kind of went my whole life like trying to figure it out. And then I finally heard like libertarian. I was like, what the fuck is libertarian?
Yeah, really.
And so
it was a conservative that smoked weed. Like
that's not true, but it is funny because it's a little true. It's a little true, but not true. It's because I am smoking weed right now. So no, because like I disagree with a lot of conservative views, a lot. And I disagree with a lot of leftist views too, because it's how it is. Like libertarianism is pretty much this: like, don't hurt people and don't take their stuff. Can you get on board with those two things? Cool. Well, then we are pretty much on board libertarianism. Like that's, and like it's that and like no. Well, I'm like an anarch-capitalist. They like to call anarch-capitalist. They like to call. So it's like ANCAP. So I'm like an extreme libertarian, I guess, where I want zero government. I think the government should just protect us militarily, and that's it. So all the shit we see right now, I think, is just destroying us as a society. Like all the COVID stuff is legitimately worse because of government. Like straight up, I don't care what side you think you're on. Like it's worse because of government. Like I'm telling you, it is. Like there's no argument. It is. So that money that you got from the government, that's your own money you got back. You fucking idiots.
Yes.
Like that's your money that you worked for that they took from you and gave back to you, and you're like, thank you.
That you begged for, please. And can we have one more?
Can someone tell me what job the government has?
They hold our stuff for us and they make sure our stuff is safe, and by extension we are safe,
right? So they don't have one. So their job is theft. Their job is to take your money, because the government doesn't pop a fucking timestamp and go, oh, off to work, hon, and whistle as they no, they don't. We do that and they go, thanks, we get like a third of that. And then we go, oh, but you didn't earn it. And they go, no, we didn't earn it. And I go, okay, but if I'm forced to give it to you, are you gonna like fix the roads and shit? And they're gonna go, we're gonna pretend we do. And I'm gonna go, oh, well, can you tell me where my tax money goes? And they go, no, because we actually lose track of it, and we actually just put it mainly towards defense budget. Oh, so not towards like anything that would really help me. No. Okay, so can I opt out on these taxes? Oh, no, you can't. Oh, okay, well, I don't want to pay. And then what happens if I don't pay? Oh, we're going to send armed agents of the government to your house, and we're going to force you into a cell and take away your rights. Oh, but I didn't hurt anybody. No, we're aware of that. But we're going to escalate the situation tenfold with, again, armed goons of the government. We're going to come to your private home that you paid for, even though you have to pay us property tax because, we own the land. Well, how do you own the land? Well, we're the government. But what does that mean? And then they go, I know, right? That's the government.
I know, right? And you turn around and you're already in a jail cell. And you're like, what? How did this happen?
And as ridiculous as me doing all that sounds, that is what the government does. And no one could debate me on that. Like in the dumbest first grader nutshell, that's what the government does to every single one of us.
Can I tell you, I would love to hear someone debate you on that.
Oh, trust me, Neil, my co-host, he is not a libertarian, and we get into plenty debates about political stuff.
Well, it's crazy now too, because everyone, because of COVID, I feel like we've all become amateur doctors, amateur political talking heads, just everything that we didn't have time for before. We're all starting to pay just enough attention to that. Like I have a big interest in anything politics, but my knowledge base is very shallow. But I have some really big opinions, and I feel like that is that is like everyone is doing that. But by the way, I try and keep my opinions mostly to myself because I know I sound like an idiot. But now,
I mean, I am an idiot, but like I'm definitely an idiot. But I do know liberty, and I do understand like our constitutional rights and stuff like that. Like, I'm not trying to be like, here's what Mercury is. Like, I don't fucking know, but I do know, like, you can't lock down society forever and just be like, well, there's a virus. I'm like, well, that's not so. Like, so like, and then people are like, you're a Trump supporter. Like, I'm not, because I don't want the lockdowns. I mean, I fucking support Trump. It's psychotic. It's psychotic.
I cannot tell you how many times people at work, I will say something against Trump. It doesn't matter what it is. They're like, I always knew you were a left guy. I'm like, I'm not a left guy. Like, I don't know that I guess maybe I am libertarian. Like, I have always.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry.
No. I was gonna say I'm no party affiliation. Like I've always been that way. Like I don't I started before there were podcasts. I was first introduced to right-wing talk radio. Like I listened to Rush Limbaugh and Glenn Beck and Sean Hannity religiously for years until
Sean Hannity.
well, I hate them all now because
Yeah.
what was it when it went from George Bush to Obama was when I started to realize the just crazy hypocrisy because they were the things they would defend Bush on, they were against Obama on. So I was like, okay, I'll go and check out left-wing talk radio and see what that's like. And it's the same tricks, just in a different direction. So it's
so two things. So I will definitely talk about like right now, but like this is why I have libertarian in my bio on social media, because it doesn't even matter because no one fucking reads. But like I will argue, okay, so if I argue a leftist on Twitter, no matter what, this is the response I get. You're an alt-right racist, Trump supporter, MAGA, fucking hate mongerer. No
Yes.
matter what I say. Now, if I argue a right person on Twitter, no matter what I say, I'm a snowflake SJW faggot. So I can't be both. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, they will call me that on Twitter openly. I'm like, that's pretty aggressive. And I'm like, I'm not going to report you because I'm not a snitch. But like, you know, like, I'm like, dude, all right. I mean, but I'll be like, dude, I'm just not, I'm a libertarian. I'm like, I just don't agree with you. Like, you just can't argue your point because you're stupid. That's what it is they can't argue their points. And then to talk about like today, I go, hey, Biden's not better than Trump. He's not. And also he's not like a less evil either. So can you tell me without mentioning Trump why I should vote for Joe Biden?
No.
And then be like, well, Trump hates the. I go, okay, we're done here. Have a nice night.
I don't know if it's because I'm 37. I don't know if it's because I've gone through just enough elections that this one seems crazier than ever, or it's because of everything that's going on in the world that makes it seem crazier than ever. But like, there has never, that I can recall, seemed to be two candidates that seem to be more of just, how do I even say it? Like, it doesn't matter who you vote for. You're just voting for the same thing.
Well, dude,
Like,
last one was the same thing. I mean, Hillary is the same fucking thing. It's the same thing. The last two elections are the same fucking thing. Like, this is why, by the way, this is why I hate the left more than I do the right. Because, like, the right is open with their bullshit. So the right's like, we like money. And we're like, we don't care about poors. And we're not too keen on, like, non-whites. And we're like, yeah, we get it. But they're open with it. And you know the evil. Like, you know it. The left, they're hypocritical fucking monsters. Like, they're just complete sociopaths. It's a different evil. It's like you can't fight that evil because they're just constantly changing their story and morphing it. So, like, for the last 4 years, and they're right, by the way, like, police reform is needed, criminal justice reform. I've been saying that for fucking years as a libertarian. But by the way, something else that pisses me off. Libertarians for years were like, the police have too much power, the state's evil, the government's evil, and both sides are like, shut the fuck up to us. And then this all happens, and then both sides like, we're the libertarians. We're like, you guys have told us to shut the fuck up for the last 20 years. What do you mean? We've been saying this stuff every day. And now because you guys want to make it your thing, like, they're going to ride it, but like, you don't really care about it. But like, libertarians really do care about criminal justice reform because we always talk about it. So to hear the left be like, fuck the police, defund the police, ACAB, and then who do they nominate? An old, rich, white, racist billionaire who's a fucking sexual predator, and then his vice presidential pick is a fucking pig cop who fucking put more black people. But they both did. He wrote the fucking 94 crime bill.
Yes.
Fucking hypocritical fucks. And when I hear any one of my leftist friends be like, I'm voting for Joe, I go, I just want to be like, I genuinely hate you because you're a hypocrite. You're the worst kind of person.
Yeah, they're the vote blue no matter who people. They're the, I don't care who it is, just get Trump out of office. And it's like,
vote Joe Jorgensen, vote third party. She's fucking great.
The thing about that is like, those are the same people that will call the MAGA people stupid. And it's like, do you not hear what you're saying? You're saying vote for anything other than what we have. Do you know what anything is? It's
anything. That's what I'm saying. I go. And by the way, that is the legitimate. They make me defend Trump because I refuse to lie and I don't refuse to go with bullshit news stories or the narrative because I'm not a fucking idiot and I can see. Like again, I go that Russia shit was bullshit, and they go, "You're a Trump supporter." I go, "Nah, I fucking see facts. You fucking dumb idiot." Like I'm not here. Oh, you know why I don't like Trump? I'll give you two reasons I want Trump removed from office. The continuation of all the wars that the last two presidents fucking love so much, and also that gigantic spending bill that he put through. There you go. Those two reasons alone are enough for me, a libertarian, to be like, I don't like this guy. Get him out. There you go. There you go. I don't need the lies. I don't need you to lie to me. I don't need you to be like Russia. I go, well, that didn't happen. They could be like, he did this. I go, well, I just did 4 minutes of research and that never happened. So lie number 2 in 10 minutes. I'll go for 3. I mean, I watched one time that MS-13 speech he gave when he was calling them monsters and rapists. I was getting my car fixed. I was watching that in the lobby. I watched the whole speech live, fucking live. And then they went to the analysis after the speech, and CNN was like, President Trump just called Mexicans rapists. I went, well, that's a fucking. I mean, they just lied right to my face. I just watched the speech. Like, and then they go, well, you clearly a Trump supporter. I go, I'm just telling the truth. What are we doing?
Nuance. You're not allowed to be nuanced. You have to have that big, broad brush opinion, or it doesn't count. Because it's why we let guys like Biden and Harris be the nominees, because it's why, you could say like, hey, we've been talking about police reform forever and it's not until now. But the reason people care about it now is because those chickens have come home to roost. Right. We are all now, there's nowhere to go. There's nowhere else to look. You have to look right at what is happening to us. And I don't know.
No, you're right.
I lost it right in the middle of it.
No, it's rough.
It's infuriating.
It's rough when you go like this. When you go, hey man, listen, I could give you literally A through Z reasons why Biden and Harris are literally awful. Forget for white people, for literally black people and poor people, they are the two worst people to put in office. Like just off their own. I don't have to make shit up. I could just show you their actual records and voting history. Like, I could be like, well, Joe Biden co-authored the 94 crime bill. It actually put more black people in prison since, like, Jim Crow laws. And people go, well, that was in 94. I go, well, those laws are still kind of in effect today. It didn't go away. And then they go, well, so what? It's not Trump. And I go, wow, that's how you walked around that? So you just justified unlawfully jailing more black men because fuck Trump?
Well, yeah, I
don't get it. I just don't understand it. Like, and then Harris, she fucking doesn't prosecute Mnuchin for the Goldman Sachs bullshit, even with all the evidence. She refuses to. She doesn't let evidence go through for an innocent man to get put off death row. That guy's dead now. She laughed about all the minor marijuana offenses. She fucking threw poor parents in jail for truancy. It's like these people legitimately ruined generations of families. But it's not Trump, so
Yeah, it's okay to be. What I've realized is that we really do want, and I don't think it'll happen ever again. But what we think we want is what we used to have, which was a bunch of people that would lie to our faces, pat us on the head, tell us it's okay, and then go and do the stuff that Trump does out in the open behind closed doors, and just absolutely turn our rights inside out and make sure that we think we have everything and have nothing forever. And I am interested to see like how. Well, first of all, I'll ask: do you think Biden will win? Who do you think will win?
I'll be honest with you. Before COVID, I was like, Trump is gonna fucking
sweep it,
dude. He was gonna stone cold mud stomp him like in the corner ropes, like and then like dump beer on like that. It was gonna be a walkthrough, because Biden he can't even speak.
Right.
I mean, that's the other thing too. You guys hate Trump so much. You're pushing through an Alzheimer's patient who probably raped some people. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, by the way, me too, unless it's against our boy. Then rape's fine. It's like, well, I don't know, man. You guys drag Kavanaugh's name through the mud with almost no evidence, and then this guy with the credible evidence, you're like, it's fine. So again, hypocrisy. And by the way, as not a defense against Kavanaugh, he may have done all that shit. I don't fucking know. I don't give a shit about the guy. He's probably a piece of shit. I don't know. Oh, I do know this though. If I'm looking at it through a court of law, that guy had nothing, and Biden has a lot. That's all I'm saying. So
after Biden's accuser got basically washed away by the media, I remember the thing going around was like "R.I.P. the Me Too movement" because apparently that is over now.
100. Anytime that shit goes right back in their face, the whatever movement that is, it's done.
I think that. What do you think that about if Biden gets elected? Like, will people either expect him to be as, I don't know, out there as, or whoever ends up being the president, whether it's, if say Trump does win again and he goes up against somebody else, like, will that next person be like as held accountable? And will we figure out that we actually want someone to be as like in our face with how they feel all the time as a president? Do you know what I mean by that?
Yeah, no, I totally do. I think if Trump wins again, he's going to double down pretty hard on a lot of shit because there's no care for re-election. My other point, but because of Corona, Biden does have a shot now. But I think after picking Harris, like, people don't realize too, man. Like, I talk to a lot of black people, especially on Twitter and stuff like that, who I'm friends with, who are other podcasters, and they fucking hate Biden and Harris. Like, they hate them. So people out there, they think because the media tells you black people like them, they don't, man. They really don't. They don't at all. I mean, and if you don't believe me, go on Twitter and find out yourself.
Yeah.
And you tell me when you come back and read, because they're like, fuck these motherfuckers. How could they do this to us? Like, that's what I read multiple times. And I'm like, yeah, I agree. How can they do that to you? But so I think picking Harris was a mistake. I think that hurt him.
Yeah. I mean, the very first thing I saw trending with her being picked was her getting just 360 dunked on by Tulsi Gabbard. Like, that is what was
She knocked her out of the competition. Election, whatever. It's a competition. Yeah, she knocked her out. The next day, she's like, I got to take a break from this. By the way, that's the other hypocrisy. Where's Andrew Yang? Where's Tulsi Gabbard? Oh, again, you don't really care about diversity. You just care about winning. Yes. Yeah.
That is it. And
it's such bullshit. It's such hypocritical bullshit. And that's why I don't respect the left at all. Like, I didn't watch any of the DNC, but I'm sure it was psychotic. I'm sure it was just the most virtue signaling, pandering garbage I've ever watched. I didn't watch a second of it, but I guarantee that's what it was. Guarantee it.
That's the thing, is like, it becomes like, it's hard for me to even watch like reality TV, because like, especially when it's so bad reality TV that's like so scripted and structured that you can just see the bones of it as it's happening. And that is what all of these, any debate, anything feels like. It's like everything is designed. You can see, I feel like, the design of like, we want you to feel good about what we just said. Don't think deeply about what we said, just that we said it. And we need to find the quickest way for you to go back to sleep. So if you could just lay down.
I mean, here's the thing with Trump, though, which I did appreciate. Like, he did change shit up, which I think was important. Because let's be honest with you, if Hillary won, that's just Obama part 2. And and I don't give a fuck when anybody says Obama was a terrible president. Fucking terrible. And so was Bush. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, he did. And by the way, the Iran deal was the best thing fucking Obama did, actually. And a lot of people shit on that. And if you actually look into that, it actually was good. But like, I'll get shit on that from the right, but it's fine. But like, everything else he did was terrible. I don't know. He bombed innocent brown children from drones. He killed like 1 million people. I don't know. That was pretty bad. Anyone Nobel Peace Prize? Nuts. I never saw a president literally 88% civilian kill people with drones and win a fucking prize for it, for peace. Like, I mean, I'm gonna steal Tripoli. You know, Sam Tripoli calls him Chocolate Jesus. People think like he was the savior, and like, again, talk to black people, dude. Talk to them. See what they say about Obama, man. They think he fucked them hard, and he did. So they're right. But they were like pissed. His second term, they were like, "What the fuck, man? All the shit you said, You did none of it. You just got rich people more rich like everybody else. And he was like, I got rich too, right?
He just did what presidents do. Like, that's the thing is I feel like every president since I've been alive, at least, and I'm sure all of them forever, just they say whatever they need to get in.
My boy Teddy.
That's hilarious.
Teddy Roosevelt. He's my favorite president. I'll tell you why. Not a libertarian.
No.
No, obviously. But he was, I would say, one of the Calvin Coolidge is probably the most libertarian president we ever had. But like he wasn't cool like Teddy Roosevelt. Teddy Roosevelt rode a moose and shot shit. He was in the war. Teddy Roosevelt's badass. Calvin Coolidge was this quiet pussy. But he was like a libertarian. But Teddy Roosevelt, he was big into like he actually wanted more control of corporations with government, which I'm against. But what was cool about Teddy Roosevelt was he understood that he shouldn't do that, and he let corporations operate more freely. And that's what's awesome about Teddy Roosevelt, plus all the other shit, like game land stuff. Like he was big into that, big into nature, big into like don't fuck with us, like war shit.
Else, you mean? Yeah.
Yeah. Like he's like, oh, you want to fuck with America? Bring it. I'm crazy. It's like, and like I appreciate that. So like I like that shit.
Speak softly and carry a big stick, guy.
Yeah.
There we go.
So wait, Teddy Roosevelt, man.
When I meant to ask you about that hat anyway, because I was going to ask you if it was Groucho Marx.
No, Teddy Roosevelt. This is a one of a kind hat, but my friend personally drew me this.
That's amazing.
Logo. So yeah. So he's because I'm not like I really don't like any government. I don't like any government. I don't like any presidents because they're all garbage. But Teddy Roosevelt was always cool to me. He's always a cool dude. And like the only real black eye like stain really it wasn't great. He kind of condemned like a whole black regiment of soldiers one time for something they didn't really do. It was because they were black, but without saying it. Like they didn't do something, they got blamed for it, and without really him ever looking into it, he condemned all of them and like kind of shit on them, like dishonorably discharged them all, and that was fucked up. So that wasn't great. But that was the only real piece of shit thing that I could tell that in my research of him that he's done. That wasn't great.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's too much to think about. I don't know if it's just my age or what, but like I feel so dialed into like what is happening right now currently that it's making me have migraines. You know what I mean? Like it's
like weed for Brother Bear. That's what weed for.
Well, and that's like the only because I didn't listen to any politics for a long time, and I recently started listening to Jimmy Dore, and that dude is like, I love him, but God, every time I listen to him, I'm like, I just want to curl up into a ball and start crying.
Jimmy Dore is great. Do you listen to Dave Smith at all?
No.
From Legion of Skanks, Dave Smith, because he's one of the biggest names in the libertarian movement there is.
Oh, really? Wait, who am I thinking of? What is that other podcast? The Dollop. Who are the guys on the Dollop? Is that who I'm thinking
They
of?
are not libertarians.
Who are they?
Dave Anthony.
Dave Anthony, and what is it? Graham something Graham.
Yeah,
I don't know, but
can't think of it. But
yeah, no, those guys, like, I had no illusions that they were anything other than just hate Trump.
Dave Anthony is pretty hardcore leftist. Actually, fuck him because this is the thing about certain comics, man. And as a comic, I don't hate you if you disagree with me politically a lot. Listen, most comics disagree with me politically. Trust me, 99.9% disagree with me politically. If I hated everybody, I wouldn't have friends. But it's guys like that and Patton Oswalt, and I love Patton Oswalt as a comic, but I hate him as a fucking person. Like he's just a trash person, and a lot of it is because that like he's so fucking visceral with his hatred for certain things. It's like, dude, come on, man. It's like you're wrong too, and you're wrong. It's like it's just a lot of that. It's like.
What's weird about Patton is that like on Twitter, he is very venomous, I feel like, but like when I hear him on podcasts, I love him. Like
that's the other thing too. He gives you that same shit I said before. It's like run that fucking same attitude in person, dude. You won't because you're this tall and fucking fat. He's a guy who talks shit on Twitter, but he'll never do that ever in person. He's one of those guys, and it bothers me.
At least with somebody like him, though, he's been doing it a long time. I would definitely call Patton a word wizard. You know what I mean? Like they're just guys that are they get so high level and so good that, I mean, I don't know, obviously, but like I feel like once you get so good at talking, you can decide that you like, this is my opinion, and I'm gonna go on this side of this opinion as hard as I want to,
You're right.
and no one will ever be able to touch me because I am unto a god when it comes to words.
You are right. And by the way, he is a great comic. Like I laugh at his old shit all the fucking time, man. I reference his bits. Like he's a great comic, but just garbage person.
It sucked. It really does suck to see him like that on Twitter because he was the first comic that I ever heard that, like, because I always thought comedy was like Bill Cosby. Like that was the first
known rapist.
United States. Any woman he saw, he raped. That was a comedian.
That was a comedian. I have to get back to those roots. That's what I'm going to do across America. That's my pledge across America. Is that what made him good?
He had to get his power. No, but like I thought that you had to be like super famous or you had to be like the lead guy in like a movie or a TV show or whatever. And I also thought that like Bill Cosby, like if you were this person on TV, that's who you were in your stand-up. And I remember Patton was the first guy I saw that like he just went off and had like political opinions and was cussing and all this stuff. And I was like, this is amazing. Like I didn't expect this at all. And like,
okay, you know what's funny? When he used to shit on Bush, I was like, this is great. And I was like, but Bush was worse than Trump. Like he started 2 wars. Like what are we talking about? But he goes way harder on Trump. But like Bush legitimately was worse. That's what I'm saying. It's like, what are we doing? That's why I feel like it's such a mind control with the left and the media and like entertainment and stuff like that. Where like I'm an outsider from the right left paradigm. Bush was a worse president. He 9/11 got us into 2 wars, lied to the American public, the Patriot Act, all of that.
I mean, the Patriot Act.
Trump didn't do any of that though. I mean, he did re-up it. He did, but Trump re-upped it though, which makes him a piece of shit. But like, my point is like that's worse. Like starting 2 wars is indefinitely worse. But he goes harder on Trump. It's like why? Why'd you go harder on Trump than you did when you were a headlining full-time comic when Bush was in office. You were filling comedy specials when Bush was in office. Why didn't you go hard on Bush? That's hard.
I feel like it's because of guys like me who like at the time that I found Patton and that he was going, because that is when he was going in on Bush mainly. And that's when I still thought that I was like some hardcore right-wing guy. And he was telling jokes about Bush and I thought they were hilarious. And I was like, oh, I can see the comedy in it. I don't have to be like, no, it's not funny because he's talking about my guy. And I'm sure there were plenty of dudes like me that would tell him that. And he just took that and extrapolated it out into what we have now, which is, I just do what I want. I don't like the right. So now anyone on the right is the enemy and I will go at them with my full fervor.
It's so stupid.
He's not the only one that does it.
But I know it's dumb. It's dumb because it's like you're just alienating people for what?
Because why is a great question, because like why go on Twitter or anywhere and try and alienate fans that we're never going to actually know you anyway, but wanted to see you, wanted to give you money, wanted to do whatever. And not that we all have to think alike. Like, of course we don't, but like the same way I can hear him talk about Bush when I was a huge fan and still laugh. Like he still has that skill. Like he doesn't have to just
right. Like he used to have that bit about like, I'd rather get raped in the ass by flying demon monsters for every day for 4 more years than have George Bush. I was like, that's a funny bit. But it's like, but you should want that over at Bush because wars and Patriot. But it's like, I don't know. And again, like I don't talk about politics on stage because I can't. Like it's not my avenue. It's not my lane, dude. And I also don't want to do that. I don't want to divide the crowd, and also like. Again, I am, as being a libertarian, like it's so down the middle. People are going to be like, that guy's awesome. This guy fucking sucks. It's going to be such a middle split. I feel like, I don't know. It's just not worth it. I'm also not good enough with like my words to be like, here's a crafty political joke that will get me out of not having to fight anybody after the show. Like, like I don't have that. So I just be like, here's a story about the time I almost got arrested in Mexico. Like that's that's funnier. Let's talk about too much fucking acid. Like like shit like that. Like that's funny. Like I'll stick to that stuff. That's my avenue.
I don't know, man. It just, I'm not a comedian, obviously, but I love comedy. Like, I feel like I'm a huge fan of comedy. So especially when guys that I like that. And like I said, it's not just Patton, but he's like, I feel like he's the one I always see out there. Like it's always disheartening to see somebody like you look at like Mark Norman's Twitter against Patton Oswalt, and you're like, Mark Norman's is what, in my opinion, and clearly it's mine, I think Mark Norman is doing Twitter right if you're a comedian.
Oh, dude, he's
machine gunning jokes out a mile a minute, and that's it.
I gotta be honest with you, dude. I don't know how the fuck he does that. Like, I don't know. He's a joke machine. Like,
yeah.
It's also fuck Netflix and like all these like the fact that like Mark Norman, Sam Morril, Joe List, all these guys had to like put their special on like YouTube.
Yeah.
And Netflix is putting on comics I've legitimately have never heard of before because they fit a fucking narrative. It's like, all right, so we just don't care about laughter or comedy. Talent doesn't mean anything. We're just going to go off of like skin color, which seems racist. That's funny to me how you guys hate racist shit, but you just completely operate off race. Weird.
To me, it's the fundamental misunderstanding of what comedy is. It's not about the person. It's the person is just the vessel in how I see it for the laughter to come.
Yep.
Like I don't care who's saying the joke. If it's funny, it is funny.
Do you know Jessica Kirson? However the fuck she pronounced it? She's fucking great. In fact, she's doing this Staten Island Comedy Fest. I hope I get to do. I hope I get to open for her. That'd be cool to meet her. I never met her before. But she's fucking a killer, dude. And like people don't get. What did you say? I'm sorry.
Oh, I was just saying she seems like a blast, dude. I
hear she seems like a fuck. Yeah. So I hope I get to do her show. But people don't give her the credit she deserves because she's not like this fuck. Even though she's a gay female. Yeah, gay female comic. Yes, gay female comic who's a killer. Well, because she's a little fucking offensive and she's off the cuff, and we won't highlight her. Why? She's fucking funny. Like, but because it doesn't fit their their narrative. Even though gay female comic, which is you want that though. I thought
theoretically the narrative, yeah.
But not the gay female comic they want because she doesn't talk about the stuff they want. So,
well, I mean, again, with those comedians you were talking about having to put their specials on YouTube for free, like it does suck in the short term, but I feel like in the long term, like especially for those guys, it's going to have them out there, and they're going to be able to do their podcast. They're going to be able to do their specials, whether they do like Louis C.K. or whatever, like, and make their own money outside of the machine, whatever that machine is, whether it's Netflix or Hulu or Comedy Central or whatever. And I don't know. It just sucks now that you have to have those guys be the forefront of it and maybe not be able to reap any of the benefits of it because like those guys you said, Mark Norman, Joe List, Sam Morril, Jessica Curzon, all of them, like they deserve, in my opinion too, to be just as famous as any other wildly famous comedian right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's nuts. And then like fucking Brendan Schaub sucks, man. He fucking sucks. It's a bummer. Because we almost have the same exact weird career path in a weird way. Like we both played football, we both did MMA. I mean, he was at a much higher level than me. But like, and then I'm not friends with Rogan and Brian Callen though, so I don't get to do fucking the Comedy Store.
Yeah, I mean, it sucks because like I don't think he's bad, but
he is. No, he is. No, but he is. Don't say that. No, take that back. No, he is bad. Don't even give him that he's not. He is bad. He is bad.
I think he's as good as he has been led to believe that he is. You know what I mean?
That's my point.
Like,
so here's this is a comic gripe right now. Like, dude, I'm doing comedy 7 years. I am not great by any stretch of the imagination, but like I am leaps and bounds better than Brendan Schaub. That's not a pat on my own back. I'm telling you, for factually, I am. I know I am. My 20 minutes is better than his 20 minutes. Guaranteed. Guaranteed. Most of my friends' 20 minutes is better than his 20 minutes. I know that for a fact because I've watched his special. Ask me how much I laughed in it.
How much did you laugh in it? 0.
I open mic comics are funny. I'm not kidding. Like, this isn't a joke. And this is one of the things that pissed me the fuck off and why I started openly bashing him on it. I'll never shun anybody for trying comedy. Everybody, someone that we both knew, I won't say if you just want people to know, mutually, I think we both know, recently just DM me. He's like, hey, man, I think I was doing comedy. Like, any advice? And I was like, fucking do it. 100% do it. Like, try. I'll help you any way I can, but, like, do it. I tell everybody to do it. Try it. So I'm not shitting anybody for trying comedy. It's the arrogance that I fucking can't stand. I heard him on Rogan one day, and Rogan even said, hey, man, you should go to open mics and, like, work on your shit. He said open mic. He was being very careful to say open mics too, like, make it a fact to say open mics. And fucking Schaub was like, why would I do that? Why would I? That's like a professional going down to play Pee Wee. It's like, it's not though, actually, because you started at Pee Wee to get to be professional. You just jumped in professional. You never fucking went to Pee Wee first, dude. Like, I still do open mics. What the fuck? I still I host the open mic. What do you mean? Like, like I go to less now, obviously.
Yeah.
I'm not even before COVID. I mean, even before because 7 years you
hear,
start going
like bigger guys like Joey Diaz talk about, like, yeah, he's like, I still like to go to open mics every once in a while just to know what is going on because I want to stay fresh.
It was that the most arrogant. I was like, do you think you're good that you're getting these spots, or do you think because you're best friends with Joe Rogan and Brian Callen? I'm like, which one do you think?
It's easy to get deluded. Like, you hang out with a certain group of people enough and you're like, well, they like me, so I must be like them.
Well, listen, to his credit, he had a built-in fan base from fighting in the podcast. So this is the fucking problem though, dude. Like, comedy clubs are dead now, especially now.
Yeah.
They were dying before. Like, they were selling out to, like, Twitch streamers, like comedy clubs for kids to play video games. Like, and they would sell out clubs.
Yeah.
So Brendan Schaub has a following. He goes, I'm on the road doing comedy. He sells out because he has a podcast following, man.
Yeah.
Club owners aren't going to be like, no. They're like, yeah, man, fucking come on through. Ask me how many clubs Brendan Schaub has passed at.
How many?
0.
Really?
Oh, is he? Oh, where's his name on the Comedy Store? Is his name on the Comedy Store? It will never be on the Comedy Store.
Oh my God.
Well, maybe not never, but anytime soon could be on the Comedy Store. It might be in fucking 10 years, sure. But I'm not saying he can't get better either, by the way. He absolutely can get better. I'm just saying the arrogance and level that and by the way, people are like, you're a hater. Fine, man. Okay. I'm honest and I'm accurate. I don't fucking know. Because I talk about a lot of comics tonight. Have you heard me say this to anybody else?
Mm-mm.
Just pure praise. Because talent is talent, man.
Well, people fundamentally, they just fall in line with a guy, I think, and just want to hear what you say and be against it immediately. But, like, I have worked in construction for most of my adult life. So, and in a specific, like, I've built pools. So I can look at someone.
Fucking bragger over here. This guy's building pools.
Yeah, downloads are coming. But, like, I can look at somebody that has been doing it for, like, I can look at someone work and know how long they've been doing it. It doesn't matter how good they think they are or what they, what kind of tricks they think they can do. Like, I know how to do the job right, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like, it's you looking at Schaub and saying, no, this is not it. Like, it's hard for people to hear that because you're not we as fans are not identifying with the process. We're just identifying with the end result of, like, okay, you said something that made me laugh, so you are what I think you are now, and no one else can tell me different. You know what I mean? Right. So they're like, I love Brendan. He's a comedian. He hangs out with Theo Von and Brian Callen, so he is comedian.
Right. And it's like, sure, I guess. It's like, I mean, whatever gets you through the day, bud. I mean, I don't know. It's like, but, like, just, I need him to know that no one respects him. Like, I need him to know that. Like Ari Shaffir, did you watch the last two? Have you watched Legion of Skanks at all?
No,
It's been fucking killer, dude. It's been so funny. They've been doing like a presidential run. It's a whole thing, but they've been taking like very accurate lie detector tests, which has been a running theme of the presidential run they've been doing for the show. And Ari Shaffir, okay, they put him on one.
Love Ari.
Love him. The questions they gave him were fucking brutally honest. Second question he got was, "Do you respect Brendan Schaub as a comedian?" And he went, "Yeah." Comes back, he goes, "That was a lie." And he's just going, I mean, he's okay for doing it for 4 years. I'm sorry, dude. It's because I'm sorry, dude. Because he knows. Like, he knows. You know, like.
It's such like a guy. Like, I heard one of the most, again, for not someone who hasn't done comedy, I heard probably the most, the thing that should make people think twice about even wanting to start, which is Pete Holmes. I heard a long time ago say, like, yeah, you're funny at work, but can you be funny on a Thursday? You know what I mean? Can you make an appointment to be funny? And I think that's the difference. Like, guys like me will make someone laugh in a group and everyone will go, "You should be a comedian." And eventually people say that enough to where I'm like, yeah, I am funny. I should go up there. And then, I go on a podcast, Royal Rumble, and get my bones shown to everyone.
Well, again, it is a different talent being fun, especially being fun. People know you, they know your manner, they know your backstory.
Exactly.
I'm a stranger on stage, dude. We all are. It's like you just gotta be universally fucking entertaining, dude. It is challenging. It's definitely fun. And the worst feeling in the world is being like da 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 da, and then everyone's being like, and you're like, "Oh, I want to kill myself right now." So I'm like, "I'm gonna wrap this around my neck real quick, guys. Hold on," and just. It's the worst feeling in the world.
And now I'm stuttering, and now I'm sweating, and I'm just gonna run off stage.
You're like, "It's fucking fucking hot, right?" You're like, "It's winter." You're like, "Fucking." It's like, yeah, it's rough. But I mean, listen, 7 years in, a bomb now is like, well, I could try to work my way out of this. You don't panic. Like the panic isn't really there as much. It's just it goes away.
Dude, I'm going to tell you, it's so funny because, like, what I liked about being on the Rumble with you is, like, I feel like I came in right as you were reaching peak, whatever peak energy you had. Like, I came in on that round, and I like, all right, I'm going to match this energy, and I'm going to start yelling about cheetahs. And I was yelling, and then no one could hear. I couldn't understand you. I don't know if you could hear me, and I was like. At some point, I was like, "This isn't going to happen. I need to let this wash over me and just enjoy the rest of the show." I mean, listen, there is, I think there is it's just as big of a skill. I'm going to big up myself to know when to step back and.
It is. I do it on my podcast a lot. Like sometimes if Neil's on a tear with a guest, if we have a guest, and I'll be like, "Nope, this is just shut the fuck up." Because it doesn't. If you're not adding,
yeah,
you're ruining. You're taking away. You're taking away. But I'm an energetic dude. I get passionate about shit. I yell, and I don't even do cocaine. It's crazy. I do all the downer drugs, and I still act like that. I've been smoking weed this whole time, like how I act. It's crazy. Fucking nuts.
Awesome. So, okay, we've been talking a lot about comedians. Was there, like you said, you're married, right?
I am.
Was there a prerequisite comedian when you guys were dating that you were like, all right, I'm going to show you this comedian, and if you don't like this one, I don't know how this.
My wife hates comedy. She hates movies. She hates TV. Yeah, she doesn't give a shit about it. Well, that's fine. Okay. It doesn't really matter to me. This is fine.
That is actually good. If there's a blanket, I don't like any of it. It's like. Because I was thinking about it today, and I actually, right before we went on, I saw they were doing Brody Stevens Day or whatever, the Comedy Store, and that I didn't even realize I was already together with my wife when I found Brody Stevens. I would hear all these comedians talk about him, and one day we watched his I think it was on Amazon. We watched one of his specials. Oh, yeah. And it was I don't know. Have you ever seen any of his specials?
Oh, I've seen him. Yeah, no, I never saw him live. No, I've only seen him. Yeah, I've only seen him on tape.
he out of all the comedy specials I've ever seen, like that dude took his entire hour, and I don't think he took a breath the whole entire time.
A lot of act outs, right? I mean, he's a very physical dude. Yeah.
It was just awesome to see, like, after, because I didn't know, because I loved it, and I was like, I don't know if my wife doesn't like this, I don't know how I'm gonna feel about that. It was like, that dude was amazing. Is there more of this? I was like, oh, good.
Yeah, no. My wife is very much like, she likes documentaries, which I love, so that's cool. I kind of have been getting into like more kind of shows. I just got into Kingdom. That show was fucking sick. The MMA show with Frank Grillo. It was the MMA show. It's Netflix. It was on like that DirecTV fucking channel that became defunct. But it's with Frank Grillo. Yo, Nick Jonas was in it. It was fucking great. It was an MMA show. Dude, it's on Netflix. They had 4 seasons. No, 3 seasons. Seriously, go watch it. They're pushing for a 4th season. That's how good of the show was. So she got into that. But like, and she's obviously seen me do comedy and stuff, but like, she just doesn't, she does like my friend Jesse Dram though, which bothers me actually. She's like, oh, I love Jesse's comedy. I'm like, fuck you, bitch. Well, like, Jesse's a great comic. I love Jesse. I love it. He's a good friend of mine. But I was like, don't fucking say you like his comedy.
So what was it that led you into comedy finally? Like, I know it seems like there's only 2 things, either boredom or terrible childhood. So
I know I did have a terrible childhood. Like, I had me and my dad are very close to this day. Me and my mom, we're not the greatest. So I feel like a lot of that childhood riff I had with my mom still goes into adulthood. Like, we just got into a fight on the phone the other day, like last week. I was like, fucking cunt, like, click. I can't. We just always got into fights growing up my whole childhood. But I never got beat or molested, so good job, I guess, raising me on that end. But they definitely fucked up on other ends, so I definitely didn't have the best. I also got bullied as a kid. So I got bullied as a kid because I was a nerd, and that was before nerds were cool, dude. Like, this is like the late 90s and early 2000s, and here was crazy. I played football from 12 to 25 years old, like full contact, pads. I was really good. I was still bullied by my teammates, even though I was the starting safety and fucking played every game, all-star game, everything. But because I like Spider-Man, like, game day was like, great job. And the next day was like, fucking loser. It's like, so I got bullied. So that wasn't great. Always loved to joke around though and laugh. So I found stand-up comedy at a young age. I was like, this is cool. Like, what's this? And then I found comedy movies. I was like, all right, so I like comedy. Like, you kind of discover that. Then I learned how to fight at 18. I got to MMA. And I was like, well, bullying shit's done. So I did that. Did that for a bit. I did that for about 10 years. Trained for 10 years. I didn't fight for 10 years. I only fought for a year. But then I took a break from so then I was like, all right, well, I started training, still playing football, and I was like, I need an outlet that's not violent. I was like, I'm all my outlets are violent, even though it is releasing something, but it's like, still get hit in my head a lot. I was like, what else? And I knew that was never good for me. I'm not an idiot. I was like, this can't be good for me. So I was like, what do I love that I always wanted to do that's a different thing? And I was like, oh, fucking comedy. I always loved comedy. So at 18 years old, I did my very first open mic at stand-up. At the Comic Strip in Manhattan.
That's awesome.
I did okay, and then I bombed for the next 2 years. Like, that's just what comedy is. Then I stopped, and I took a really big break. And then in my late 20s, I picked up again full time. So from my late 20s on, I'm 33 now. So I would say last 7 years. I would say. Last 7 years. Yeah.
That's awesome. What did you do in your big break?
I don't like talking about it because it's not who I am. No, I will. No, because I'm not that type of person. It's just, I was a cop for 8 years, and in New York, and I fucking hated it. And it's like, not who I was. Like, it's not who I identified with. I struggle with it all the time because of my politics. And I was like, oh, because like, I was a dumb kid. I was 21. I needed a job. I was like, oh, I hate bullies. I know how to fight now. I was like, this is like the job to do to stop bullies, right? Like and then the minute you get to the academy, they're like, whoa, we don't care about people. Well, I don't know if you've thought that, but like, gotcha. Like, fool. And then you're like, oh, okay. So I thought I was going to get in here to help people. And they're like, no, you write tickets and break the Constitution. And I'm like, oh, I don't want to do that though. I was in here to like not do that. And they're like, well, do you want your job? And I'm like, guess. Like I didn't finish college. so
wait, so was it really like how blatant really was it? Like as soon as you got done with training, they were like, listen.
In the academy. Without saying it, you pick up on it. It's a subtle shit,
Yeah.
It just so you get out there, and I worked in Staten Island. I worked in pretty much an all-white precinct. Like as in like the population was like 99% white people, so I never really had the racial disparity problem, I guess, with the cop stuff going on. It was just pulling over like, oh, what's up, Dave from fucking down the block, you idiot. Like it's like it was that. It was like so, but almost I think I arrested 1 or 2 black dudes my whole career. It was all white dudes, and it was all like. So like you get in there, and what I try to do was like, well, I hate this. So I was like, I'm just gonna try to enforce like violent crime, which is what I think should be the only laws enforced for violent crimes. Like and then I got into a bunch of car accidents, and I got more brain damage, and they're like, you're done. And I was like, thank you.
And your career, just the accident, was it on the job?
A bunch, yeah, 3 of them. I'm fucked up from them. Like, yeah, like I mean, I legit have brain damage. Like, I have memory loss. I have I get severe headaches randomly. They pop up at random, and like medicine. That's why I got weed. Like I started smoking weed. So I think it helps. So I'll get those. I'll just get and it's also from years of football and MMA. Like it's all of it. Like it's football, MMA, car accidents. Like the car accidents put me out though. So
was it the combination of the 3, or was it the last one that like just shook everything loose?
No, it was all of my but also like I only have 3 diagnosed on the book concussions, and it was all 3 of those car accidents. All my other ones were sports injuries that were just like, get back in there, pussy. Like those were the diagnosis.
Just don't fall asleep.
Yeah, don't fall asleep. Which, by the way, like you should sleep on all concussions. You need a rest. Like, what are you staying awake for? I learned that way too late. I stayed awake for all my concussions. They're like, you should have been sleeping for all of them. No, my last car accident was bad. I hit a pole. Pole hit the car. Tire flew off. I got knocked unconscious. That was the whole thing.
Okay, so I'll ask you this because I think you might be the only other person that's been in traumatic accidents like that. Like when I was like 14 years old, I was crossing the street and got hit by a minivan. It like flung me up in the air. I landed on my face, slid. Like I remember none of it. And it's not until like maybe the last couple of years I started wondering. I'm like, I wonder if my personality changed. Like from before I got hit and after.
It definitely did.
Really feel like, do people say that? Or are they like,
I did.
A different person?
I'm definitely, it's going to sound bad. I have more of a propensity towards anger quicker. For sure. Like but like, I feel like it's always justified though. It won't be like, the fucking pencil's out of place. Not like that shit. I mean, like some guy in the street, like
injustice.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if it's from that, but I feel that too. Like even if it has nothing to do with me, like if I see any small injustice, I'm like, this is I don't know what it is, but I need. No,
it's your brain trauma. I'm telling you, because everyone tells me it's not normal, so I have to probably just agree with everyone telling me that because everyone's like, you shouldn't get that angry. I was like, but I am. And I'm like, the scary thing is like, I have the ability to really hurt somebody. I know what I'm doing. Like, I really fuck someone up. I have fucked someone up. Like,
yeah.
So I gotta like control it, and my wife's not psyched about my anger. So like, it's hard, but definitely I could tell. But I will not take like pills fuck that shit. I'm not putting chemicals in my body like that. I don't.
No, it's crazy. Like,
Yeah.
what was I gonna say about that?
I was on that shit. I was on Lexapro after my last car accident. Let's go back to like 2015, 16 though, 4 or 5 years ago. I was on Seroquel and Lexapro, and I got fucking super fat. I felt fucking super depressed. I was way more depressed. Like, I fucking hated it. And then I just don't do this. I went cold turkey. Don't do that though. I went cold turkey, and I just stopped taking it all, and then I felt so much better though.
So do you do this too? Does sometimes or all the time that anger just go inward? Because like I have a thing where I will be like, so like if I screw up or I perform what I see as a small injustice, even if it's just like in my little scope, like I say the most terrible, like, I mean, just dark stuff to myself of like, you are the worst piece of garbage.
Oh yeah.
You do not deserve love or happiness. Like,
yeah, but that's because I'm broken and I'm also an athlete though. Like, I'm a competitor, so like I have to. That's like how I like talk myself into winning. It's like, you piece of shit. You know. Yeah, no, I'm negative. Of course, I'm a comic. It's like part of it. Yeah, of course. Yeah, I do that. If I fuck up, I feel like I like to take. I feel like, and my wife will be like, no, you don't. But I feel like I do take personal accountability for things. She'll definitely be like, you're full of shit. But like, I definitely, I definitely feel like I do. Like, I definitely feel like I do take. I'd be like, no, I fucked up. Like, that's on me. Like, or like, me and my wife, this Victor. I don't know if it's a man or woman thing. I feel like it is a man or woman thing. I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe it's me and my wife thing. But like, if I burden myself with something and I fuck myself later on for a task, that's on me. That's the I have to live with now, and I'll take that responsibility. Where like, I can't think of an example right now off the top of my head, but like, let's say, she'd be like, you see, that's why you should. This is the thing I said. I'll be like, Steph, no, I hear you, but like, I chose to do this. It's happening to me now. I'm not mad at anybody. That's my decision. Like, I chose to do that. But if she does that, it's my fault. Like, will you fucking? You have to live with that burden now, like I do. Like, that's not. You can't just push it on me. It's like unfair. It's like if I push it on you, that's some fucking high class woman shit, or it's Steph shit. I don't know, but it's high level. It's good.
It just has consequences.
It's like her actions and my actions have consequences on me, no matter what. Like, I'm the one who has the consequence.
Oh my goodness, man, dude, that's crazy. I don't know. Do you have any questions you'd like to ask me?
I mean, I guess cock size. It's always see it.
I need to turn the live off for a second.
No, let the world see.
Turn away from
Let the world see what you got. That's what I would like to say. It's not a sex crime. They're tuning in on us, so they chose that. That's what I tell the courts anyway.
Yeah, that's why this podcast has the explicit tag. There's always.
I can tell you a little running I had with the law during COVID.
Please.
That story. My advice to every single American citizen out there: if you know the cops are being called on you, even if you are, and and there's cameras around, and you are 100% innocent, run away from the scene. That's a very important piece of information. If you know the cops are being called, even if you're right, you leave and never turn around. Okay? Important. So I live in like a town home development thing. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
I am very anti the COVID lockdown shit. Okay? I don't think children shouldn't be able to play on the playground. Sorry. I'm not going to get into numbers, but 99.6 survival rate, almost no kids die. It's fine, whatever. But so I don't think children shouldn't be able to play, especially when they can't do anything else. Like, I get really passionate, like, with like protecting kids. Like, that's my I hate pedophile. We all should, but like, I will fucking actually take my hands to one if I get to. You know what I'm saying? Like I will. Like so I hate when people limit children's minds or like their fucking function. Like it bothers me.
Yeah.
So they fucking put these. I guess it was my development, like the management put these shitty like stake signs, like this pushing stake signs, like that said like park closed due to COVID, just pushed into the ground. I went over to the tennis court that's by the playground to do a little training, a little pad work with my buddy.
Mm-hmm.
Every time I see these signs for funsies, when I went for walks with my wife, I would take them out of the ground and throw them randomly throughout the neighborhood because it was fun. Now, I wasn't destroying property because they were just literally pushing to the ground. Like, it's not like I was like breaking them or like ripping them apart. I would just go, fuck this sign, and then like just launch into a tree. Because like my little civil disobedience, like I was being a cunt. You know, I wasn't doing anything destructive really. I go to the thing with my buddy. I went, hold on real quick. I took the signs and I threw them. I was like, all right, we can work out now. And I went to go. So I go back to work out. There's this dude and his wife. The woman's just going, excuse me? Excuse me? And I went, nah, I don't really agree with the signs. I just kept walking away. And she was like, excuse me, you can't do that. And I went, listen, I have no problems with you. This isn't about you. You don't really get involved in this. There's no reason for that. I'm being really cool. But I'm also right. Like, why do you care? Are you a fucking lunatic? You don't put the signs there. You know, you don't.
And she doesn't know you. Like,
exactly.
She doesn't know you are crazy.
I also look at me. I look like a fucking lunatic. So she starts trying to get my attention. I'm like, fuck this fucking bitch. I'm just walking past her. Walk past her, go back to the tennis court. Her husband's like, hey. And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, what are you fucking now? He's immediately 0 to 60 on me.
Yeah. Because why not?
And he's an older dude, taller than me, older dude. And I just start laughing uncontrollably. I'm like, who's this guy so mad for? Because I'm like, it's so silly to me. I didn't destroy it. Like, I literally, nothing's, you can just push him back into the ground, dude. Like, it's all I did. So he was calling me an animal sap. My buddy Josh now is like, not his name. My buddy is just like trying to calm him down. I'm like, hey man, like he's not mad at you guys. It's nothing to do with you guys at all. He's fine. He's just mad about the lockdown stuff. He's just taking out some, let it go. The guy is not letting it go. He's not letting it go. Furious at me. I'm laughing still. I'm like 50 feet away. Tears almost laughing at how angry he is. I'm like, look at this fucking idiot. I'm like, dude, it's not a big deal. I'm like, calm down. Like, I'm really not getting angry. He leaves. I'm like, all right, man, let's just work out. Then I see this guy start to try to take a picture of me.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, is he really trying to escalate this now? Because like I'm not escalating it. I let it go. He grabs a hammer, starts to put the signs back in. And I'm like, dude, just to my friend, I'm like, I'm gonna stand behind you, and we can just leave because I don't want this guy taking my picture. Like, it's annoying me now, and like, I'm gonna get to this level of anger that I don't want to get to. And he's like, no, I hear you. So I start packing my shit up. He's trying to take a picture of me. He can't. Because my buddy's a big dude. He cannot get behind him. Can't. And he's like, by the way, this guy's pussy. He will not come by us, right? He's by the playground. He goes, and now he's pointing the hammer at me like a fucking tough guy. And he goes, I'm gonna fucking call the cops on you, fucking. For being let's fucking. I went, okay. And I just like, okay. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna leave. I'm not gonna wait for the cops. But the guy's pointing, like trying to be tough, and I'm like, well, I'm letting it go. I pack my shit up, I throw my bag up, and I start leaving. And I'm walking away from him. Here's where he just escalates it to the fucking third degree. He starts following me to my home.
Okay. That seems like some kind of stalking or something, right?
I turn around. I go, hey, man, listen. You should end this because I ended it. I'm done. I'm walking away. He doesn't listen to me. I turn around. I keep walking. I turn around again. He keeps walking. I went, okay, man, now you made this something. I threw my bag down. I was like, we're fighting. I ripped off my fucking hoodie and my hat. I went, let's go. I went, let's go. We're fighting. I started walking at him, and he went right back to his fucking house like the fucking bitch he is. So I go in front of my house to start working out. 15 minutes go by. I see 2 cop cars pull into his house. I'm like, well, this is my cue. I pack my shit up and I walk into my house. You know why? Because you don't wait for the fucking cops to show up.
But I have to tell them my side.
Yeah, like, no, you don't. Just leave.
By the way, you are what we were all warned about when the UFC came out. You don't mess with anybody ever because you don't know if they can just lock you up and make you go night-night.
Dude, I mean, I envision what I would have done. I would have double leg taken him down. I envision this. I jerk off to this. I would have double leg taken him down. I would have got him in full mount. I would have sat on his hips, and I would have beat his face into the concrete and just thrown elbows. I'm not kidding. And he wouldn't know what to do. I would have put him out on his back, and then I would have went to jail for misdemeanor assault. Is what would have happened.
Like, that is exactly it. It's don't. That is my PSA for everyone. Don't.
But that guy escalated it by following me.
Yeah, no.
I was okay with the cop part even. Like, I was okay with it, but then once you're gonna find out where, what's his end game? Is he gonna find out where I live? To get the cops to come to my personal home now? Oh, you're also a normal libertarian, dude. Big no-no.
I think that is all part of like what's happening on Twitter, all this cancel culture nonsense. Anyway, is like, how often do you see people? They can't just let it go at like, hey, everyone knows your face and your life has been ruined and you got fired. They're like, no, we also need to follow you home and make sure that people know the tag of your car and then where your kids go to school and all.
This is the thing. Like, I don't play that game. Like, come to my house. I'll fucking, not a joke. I will kill you. Like, that's not a joke. Come into my house. I will kill you. Not a joke. I'm very serious. Anybody comes to my home, they're fucking dead. Not a kid. Because, like, I don't understand this, like, pussy shit with people not protecting their, like, men not protecting their families. Like, when I see that shit, like, on Twitter, and people come to the homes of people and then be like, I'm going to call the cops. I'm like, why are you not beating that guy's skull into the ground right now? Like, I can't comprehend it. Like, I can't comprehend it. It's mind-blowing to me.
That's the other thing, too, is, like, what is right is wrong and what's wrong is right. Like, you have someone, someone could bust in here right now and I kill them. And for depending on if I am like a Shane Gillis character, people, even though someone broke into my house and I shoot them dead, they're going to be like, well, you made my feelings hurt with words once. So I don't know if I believe you or you should have done that.
Right. I mean, there was that story in Texas recently, which I'm surprised. I think it was Texas. I don't quote me on that. But like a guy caught a dude molesting his kid, beat the guy to death, and they arrested the fucking dad.
It just makes no sense. Like,
they should like a parade and name a day after him.
Yeah.
Like what?
By the way, that is like part of what I think, or at least a small part of what you're talking about when you say reform, because I feel like that happens when police show up and are like, well, we got to arrest somebody. We can't just show up here and go, well, good job, and leave and just take this debris with us in the form of a dead body. Like, we have to arrest you. We
have to do a full investigation. It's like, why? And by the way, I know where that guy lives. Like, is that guy retarded? Like, he is, because like I know where you live, you idiot. And like, you're gonna threaten me? I can actually fuck with your house, you idiot. Like,
they just don't think you're just a blank screen that they can just say whatever they want to and walk away from.
And like my wife's doing such a good job of not letting me walk past, because like if I see that guy again, and by the way, you're a man that threatened me, and then you called other men to handle a job for you. That's what he did.
Well, but it's funny. I feel like I'm like counterpointing everything you say. Like, that's what we have been for so long conditioned to do, is don't handle it yourself.
He's an older dude. You should fucking, like, he's an older guy. Like, he was in his 40s, like, I would say like early 50s. That guy, I'm 33. So if I would never, by the way, you have to pretty much be murdering somebody close to me for me to call the cops. Like, I'm not ever calling the cops. Like, it's not happening. So like, I mean, for him to be like, I'm a fucking tough guy, I'm gonna fucking follow you with a hammer, but I'm gonna handle 2 other men to handle this for me because I can't really handle it because I'm not really a man, I'm just gonna posture like one. It's like, why do you even do that? Just call it right away, right? Like, what's the tough guy act for? Your wife? because you're a fucking pussy.
No, he will lie to his wife and to himself and be like, well, I would have gone over there and done something, but I wanted to make sure that I followed the law. And, that guy got his comeuppance. And when they walk him out in cuffs, I can stand there with my arms folded and go, mm-hmm.
And by the way, if by the way, the cops been like, I don't know, man, I guess don't do that. Like, that's what they told me. Like, don't do that, I guess. Don't do that.
Go back to him and be like, hey, don't stalk people, you psycho.
I would have been like, well, he threatened me with a hammer. So it was worse. And that's what I would have said, because then you're forcing me in that situation to like say that, it's like, but he should have been like, either fight me on the tennis court, threaten me with a hammer and leave it, or just call the cops right away. Those are your three options. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, don't do all four or all three options together, because that makes you a pussy. Because once you call the cops, you're a pussy. Like, that's it. So I don't know. It's like, what do we? Well, so my wife's been doing a good job, like being like, we can't walk past that guy's house because if you see him again, you're probably just gonna fuck him up. And I'm like, I would.
I don't know. I feel like there are too many guys like me that are like, I don't know if I could take a punch to the face or not, and I don't ever want to find out. So right now to you, I could say, yeah, I too would never call the cops. But if somebody if I saw you and didn't know you, I would look at your arms and I would look at your face and go, there's an outside chance that I will get choked to death. So I'll just let the proper authorities deal with this. Or if you that's the thing. If you kept coming at me,
but that's the thing too. Like, if I look out to my window right now, I just see some dude just throwing some signs around. I'm like, I'm not getting involved in that. Like, I'm just not getting involved in that. Like, it would have to be like, oh, well, now he's on my property. And still, I would still go outside and be like, hey, man, the fuck off my property. And that would fight him. Unless he pulls a gun and I don't have a gun on him. It's the only, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, well, now I'm kind of outmatched here. I think I need some help. I need some backup on this.
Yeah, I think that is it. People putting their noses in where it doesn't belong. Like, they think.
I mean, the Karen phrase is such a perfect, like, don't be a Karen.
It is, but also think of it this way too. Like, we both said it. Like, when we see what we perceive as injustice, like, we feel the need to get super angry and engage.
We do it though. We're not fucking being like, where's you live? What's your fucking phone number? Where's your fucking? And we're not like calling the cops. We're just like, hey man, I gotta fight you right now. Because yes.
That has been lost too. Like, I've had problems with people like since starting the podcast or whatever, and I will just DM them directly and be like, yo, what is the deal? And that usually is the end of it right there. Like, we'll talk about it, or they'll never answer me and I never have to think about it again. And that, I think, is lost. The like, hey man, what's like, that guy could have come at you different, be like, yo, why are you doing this? Because what if you were just like some crazy homeless guy that actually did need help? You know what I mean? That he's like, I'm calling the cops, you're going to jail. Like, it's, I don't know. Maybe that's not his responsibility either. But if that's not his responsibility to find out why you're doing that and why you're there, then it's definitely not his responsibility to say, hey, stop.
Exactly.
So I just talked myself out of my own argument.
See? Libertarian way, baby. Don't fuck with me. I don't fuck with you. It's simple as that.
The whole time.
It's libertarian way. Dude, would you be surprised though? How many, especially after the whole Biden-Trump shit going on, how many people come to me privately, of course, privately, because they're all cowards, and they'll be like, "Hey, man, so like, what about the libertarian stuff you're talking about? Like, tell me more about it." I'd be like, "Oh, ha ha ha."
Very interesting.
Or I get a lot of this lately too. It's like, hey man, you were right at a lot of that stuff you said. I was like, say that publicly, you fucking coward. And that's
the thing. They should do a podcast with you and be like, I am so sorry, I was so wrong. Because by the way, nothing feels better than telling people how wrong you were, especially if you were super hard into something and you're like, well, I actually did my research. I actually looked at it with an open mind, and whoops. Sorry.
I'll call this person out by his name right now. Billy Strange, comic friend of mine. Fucking he and I, you're a fucking bitch, by the way. You're a coward. You should have fucking answered me. He and I went back and forth on Facebook with each other, and I was talking about minimum wage is bullshit. There shouldn't be a minimum wage at all. It should be definitely not 15 hours. And a lot of workers' rights are bullshit, and like there really shouldn't be laws on them. And like fucking discrimination laws are 100%. I'm against discrimination laws. It shouldn't be illegal to not hire somebody based on whatever you want to.
Yeah.
Right. So that's a very libertarian stance. Because that sounds like I'm an asshole, but if any kid out there want me to actually sit down and explain it to him, it would all make sense. But like if I just say those bullet points, I sound like a heartless cunt. But I'm actually not. I'm actually for the worker. If you hear my. But anyway, so him and I were going back and forth on Facebook, and I was like, "Hey man, listen, I'm done arguing on Facebook." I said, "Debate me on my podcast." And then he came back and just tried to debate me more. I said, "Hey, debate me on my podcast." And then he just stopped answering me. I said it 3 times. Billy Strange, debate me, you pussy. There you
go. Normally, though, like it's so like that's the other thing people don't realize is like they get into these Facebook or Twitter arguments, and then if you're actually forced to not have any time to think about the paragraph you're going to write, you just have to say it as it comes to your brain. Like it's going to take longer to get to the point, but no one is as nuanced as they think they are on Facebook until they're actually saying the words.
Because he's like, oh, so you should think workers. I'm paraphrasing here, but he's like, you think workers, employees should be able to take it, not pay somebody $2 an hour. Go, you should know your worth as a worker.
Yeah,
actually, is what you should know. And also, if that's all you could get, then but that's your fault then, huh? Because that's your worth. Your worth is $2 an hour. And then the counter argument is, well, then every employer would just offer that. No, because then no one would go to work.
Exactly. Like that's not even a hard argument. Like,
and then the counter argument to that. No, because these idiots, I deal with this all the time. I told you, I argue on Twitter a lot, political arguments, right? Counter argument to that is, well, how about right now? People are working for little money. I was like, right, because there's a forced minimum wage.
Exactly. That $2 that's unacceptable. Like
right. I went I'm against forced unions, but not unions. So I'm against like if a union forces you to work to be in a union, I'm against that.
Like and what is an example of that?
So like there's some jobs you take where like I don't think the PBA is one of them technically, but let's just say the police one for New York, let's just hypothetically say, let's say you join that, like you become a cop, you have to join the PBA, you can't become a cop. But that's not necessarily true with them. I'm just saying there are jobs like that where you have to join the union.
Okay, I understand.
And that's bullshit. Because, like, why? It should be your choice. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's workers' choice. Like, you should voluntarily go into a union, not forced by anybody, government, state, or private. It's bullshit.
Billy, please like on the podcast.
He won't. No, he won't. He's a fucking coward. I don't give a shit, Billy. I'll tell you that to your face if I see you. He moved to California, but I mean, if you see you again, you're a coward. You won't do it. No problem. No problem saying that to him. It's just I say a lot now. I'll be like, all right, debate me, and then people can't because they just know like their talking points.
Yes.
And they don't know that I actually look into this shit and I actually do my research. Like especially like schools right now. My wife's a teacher, and like. I think teachers are a fucking abomination, most of them. And I tell her that all the time. But she's like a good teacher. Because I see her and I see the work she puts into her job. Like, she busts her fucking balls, dude. Like, she really works. And then I see her cohorts who do 0% of what she does.
Our teachers?
And then complain. They're in a union. I think they're...
Because I know there is a teachers union, but
she's not in one because she's private school. But there are teachers. Yeah. By the way, if the police union is the worst union in the country, you know what number 2 is?
Teachers.
You know what number 3 is?
No.
Doctors.
Doctors. I didn't know there were doctors.
AMA.
Maybe I did know and just didn't really know.
Yep. So those 3 unions in this country are the fucking worst. And because the teachers, I tell my wife this. I go. You guys are cops without the guns because you guys don't do your. And again, I'm broad stroking here,
right?
But like, because my wife is legitimately. I know. Oh, it's you're saying it's your wife, dude. I'll show you the work she put. I'll film her one day. She busts her balls, dude. She works, but some of her co-workers, they don't do shit, dude. They complain about they don't get enough time off. Shut the fuck up. You fucking get paid for that time off. You do no work. You just throw kids fucking like, oh, here, fill out this packet while I go on fucking Instagram. Like so they complain. They don't get fired. They're not held accountable, and then they blame the students. It's like you guys are the cops without guns, and you get immunity. It's crazy. No drug test.
So do you think really?
Yep.
How could that be?
No drug test.
So is that is a union deal thing? Like they were like,
Probably.
no, you can't do that. That's bananas. Wait, so
there's no accountability. Just like the cops, just like the doctor shit. No accountability. You got to change it. But like they forced me to pay school taxes, right? But all these teachers like, I can't go back because of Corona. Well, then maybe take down the fucking pictures of you at the shore from Instagram, huh?
Oh my God, dude. Because
that's the shit. I'm sorry to cut you off, but like,
no.
Then the money should follow the fucking student, not the fucking state. Defund the teachers, defund public education, defund the Department of Education. It's a fucking joke. It's an embarrassment to this country. That money should go right to fucking families with kids. And also, we should all homeschool our fucking kids, because the fact that the state or the state government gets to tell you what to teach your kids is a fucking joke. And it's wrong. And they lie to them. So
well, then they would have to. Would you want that money to be like
the money should go right to the family.
Would you be taxed less? Because how would you be able to sustain
that money? Yeah, that money goes right to you.
Well, if you're homeschooling, you mean?
Yeah.
Well, that's how you would want it. Yeah.
Yeah, because all these parents who are paying all this money for all these teachers to lie about how scared they ought to go back to Corona, again, even though I could pull up hundreds of teachers' pictures at the beach partying all fucking weekend, but they're like, oh, Corona, I'm scared. Or you're a lazy bitch because you're a fucking teacher, and that's why you're a teacher, because you're fucking lazy, and you know you can skate through that fucking job.
Well, and do you think that's because of the unions protecting them?
Yes.
Or do you think it's...
Yes.
Well, here's the thing, though, is like, all you hear is how teachers aren't making enough money, and that's the reason why that they are.
Okay. My school district that I live in right now, they crush.
Oh, really?
My wife doesn't because she's a private school.
I don't know. I just don't know. Like,
dude, I would get. I wish I could get it down here right now. I think they make like 70 to 80, 90,000 a year.
Oh my God! Wait, is that
public school?
I don't even know what to say. Like I've never worked in a union. My only knowledge of unions came when I was watching, I don't know if you ever saw it, Patriot Act with Hassan Minhaj on
No,
Netflix.
I never watched it.
He did one.
It,
he did all about the one about the police union. And that was my first, like, really introduction to a breakdown of any kind of union, and specifically the police union. And I don't know, the fact that you said, you're like, I put the police union at the top level of corrupt or terrible, and then teachers right under it. Like, I know I only saw the, his side of, or his interpretation of the police union, but it didn't look good. Like, it doesn't look,
it's not great.
You look at, like, because I've been following those, or trying to follow like those police officers that were all the police officers that were there during when George Floyd was murdered.
Oh man! Oh, want to see a civil war? They're gonna get off for murder, dude.
Well, and that's the thing. People keep saying that. People think that they won't, but like
they will.
It really looks like they might. And even if they,
this is why the left is dumb. This is why politicians are dumb, because they bend the mob. They should have said, we're not going to charge him with murder too, because we can't prove that. But what we can do is charge him with murder 3 and fucking manslaughter, because that we could guarantee a charge for. And instead, they were like, no, that's not good enough. We're going to hit him with murder because that's what everybody likes to hear. Well, you guys fucked yourselves. Welcome to the Civil War, man, because that's what's going to fucking happen. There's no way they're getting on murder. There's no way. There's no fucking way.
It was crazy because the article that I read like a couple of weeks ago was that like the judge had released the gag order on all of those officers because they needed to be able to defend themselves against all of these things that were being said against them. And it's like, what I would love to hear the defense that they have of standing around and or being the guy.
I'll tell you their defense. It was, well, I'm not gonna push them off them. It looks bad.
That's the thing. I
right. And just like how teachers don't be like, you're not doing your job with your class. Those kids are failing. Same thing. See how it works? As I said, they're just as bad without the guns. You see how it works? Yeah, they're not killing kids, but they're killing their fucking futures. By the way, a fun fact that most people don't know, but everything I say, look into yourselves. Like, I don't want, but like, the federal government puts all this money to the Department of Education. It doesn't go to teachers. It doesn't go to hire more teachers. It doesn't go to the students. You know where that money goes? To hire who? More administrators that do literally nothing. Nothing. If they fired 3/4 of the administration for schools, you would see better teaching, better quality students, better grades, more money for the schools, better outcome, better support for so like sports, music, art, better support structures for the schools, like a gym, all that shit. Because you cut out bullshit jobs that mean nothing. You don't need a vice principal. You don't. No, unless you have a school of like 5. No, some schools you do.
Yeah.
But like most don't. But that's a fucking job. Why? No, but seriously, why? And they make $60,000. That's $60,000 gone now. Get that shit out of there. It's useless. People are like, well, you people are losing jobs. Good. I tell my sister-in-law. My sister-in-law works for the local government, and I go, Megan, you don't deserve your job. I just want you to know that. Like, you shouldn't have a job, and I love her to death. But I'm like, you shouldn't have a job because your job shouldn't exist because that government job shouldn't exist. I tell her that to her face. On the reg. So like, yeah, I don't want to hear it. Yeah, I do want people to lose their jobs because they shouldn't have those jobs because it's hurting everybody. And I feel like the minority doesn't outweigh the majority. So I feel like the few administration jobs out there that people are like, well, I don't know what to do. Figure it the fuck out, man. I don't know. But like, you shouldn't. That doesn't mean that all of our tax dollars should go to you because you're selfish. You know what I'm saying? Like, it just no. Sorry.
Yeah, pull yourself up by your bootstraps. Here we all have some bootstraps we can pull ourselves up by. It'll be fine. I'm sure vice principal will translate well into, I don't know, assistant manager.
I just lost so many people on that rant, but I don't care because the people who stuck with me on that rant are going to be my fans, and they're the ones who I want to listen to my podcast, and they're the ones I want to come and see my comedy. So you guys, fucking OGs.
No, dude, I don't know. I think it's all interesting. Like, I like talking about anything, politics, anything. I don't know. I don't get a chance to talk a lot of politics, and honestly, like, I think this episode has proved like I don't know much, but I don't know. I find it all interesting, and I feel
my wife didn't know about. She didn't give a shit about anything until COVID hit, and now she is like all in on politics. Like, it's all she talks to me about. And it's like, all right, shut the fuck up. Like, I don't. I want to do other stuff. Like, it's fucking bad. But yeah, man. But that also goes to show you what bad leadership does. And I want to say leadership, I don't mean the president. I mean him down. Like, everybody. It opens people's eyes. Like, people go, oh, this is how bad it is? Fuck, where was I? It's like, I know, you should have listened to me for all those years. I was telling you to fucking pay attention. You know?
People were supposed to be representing us, and they were just there for themselves the whole time. And it's always been easier just to believe what they tell you. They're like, I'm here for you. And you're like, okay, I don't have time to think about it. So just continue being for me.
Dude, I love how Nancy Pelosi's district in San Francisco, there's literally apps that make you avoid human shit. And she's showing off fucking fancy ice cream to James Corden. It's like, maybe take care of your district. Maybe. Or not. I don't know, man.
I love this vanilla bean. It tastes so good on my...
It's just like, I look at this, I go, this is a theater, and we're just in it for the fucking ride, and you people are like not getting it. It's like you think you're still in the play, and you're not. You're outside. You should be looking in. That's what it is.
It's I couldn't agree more. I don't know. I don't know, man. I don't want to take up like your whole afternoon, or I guess evening at this point. But I had a really good time talking to you. Like,
I really appreciate
you being on the show.
Yeah, man. I hope I didn't piss off too much of your audience with
No, not at all. And first of all, I don't care. I hope they would come on and be like, I didn't like this guy. Be like, well, if he'll be on, I'll have him on every week for eternity. It will be the DJ and Adam show.
Hey, man, listen, I'm honest, but I'm fun and I'm funny. So it's all.
But if you want to plug all your stuff again, we can do that.
Yeah, man. yeah, just follow me at Adam Nutter on Instagram, Twitter. Again, I'm very active on Twitter. So follow me on Twitter. Follow the Nerds with Words show podcast. That's available everywhere right now. That is, again, still Nerds with Words for now. We are changing the title. So, but if you are already subscribed, it's not gonna. You don't have to do anything. We're just changing the title and shit. So just be on the lookout for a title change. And that's available everywhere. YouTube, all that shit. Go please. Oh, really, what I want to plug is my Patreon. Patreon.com/nerdswithwords. Again, we're trying to get a little extra dough while we can't go do comedy. So $1, guys, gets you access to everything. And we have different tiers, but $1 gets you all the extra videos. We do extra podcasts. We play video games on there with other comics. I play like NBA Jam against people and shit like that, like competitions. Yeah, we do a bunch of different shit. We have arguments over like who has better villains, Spider-Man or Batman. We try to break it up, not just do regular episodes. We also have like different tiers. We watch movie tiers. We watch the fights, UFC fights. If you guys get our Discord channel, it's like a whole thing. So patreon.com/nerdswithwords. And yeah, so just join all that shit. And August 26th, Comics Roadhouse in Mohegan Sun in Connecticut. Coming out to that Wednesday night show, 8 p.m. Go to their website for tickets. And then the Staten Island Comedy Festival, September 8th through September 13th. Just Google that shit for tickets. Yeah, so there I'm going to be.
Awesome, man. Thank you again so much for being here.
Dude, thank you, man.
I appreciate you, man. We are out of here.